Hello, and welcome to another episode of Taylor Swift Era's Song Roulette, where I spin a wheel, I listen, I react, and transcribe a random song completely by ear as if I had to prepare for it for a last-minute gig this upcoming weekend. As a musician and a die-hard Kansas City Chiefs fan, I've been diving into our new Duchess of Chiefs Kingdom's catalog, and honestly, I'm hooked. With their new album dropping soon, this feels like the perfect time to explore her musical artistry. I've completely updated the wheel based on your feedback, and now I've heard Shake It Off and Right Where You Left Me, which I actually found out was a bonus track. I had no idea, but I did kind of have an idea that she was using a capo on that one, so my intuition was right on that. So that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about my bold assumption there. This time, I listened to your input and song suggestions. I also consulted with some actual Swifties that I know in person, so I can select the songs with the best arrangements, the most complex chord progressions, and overall craftsmanship that makes her music so special. This wheel focuses on that sweet spot between fan favorites and musical complexity, hopefully. So the newly updated song list has these 10 songs on it. Would've, Could've, Should've, My Tears Ricochet, Exile, Death by a Thousand Cuts, Tolerate It, False God, Champagne Problems, All Too Well, the 10-minute version, Getaway Car, and Haunted. So before we dive in, as you know, I'm a new Swiftie here, and many of you may be new Chiefs fans. I just want to talk a minute about the Chiefs season so far. We are currently 2 games in to the new NFL season, and Chiefs have had kind of a rough start, I'm not going to lie. But I'm an optimist, and it is a long season, and nobody knows what a team has until about the, first quarter to the third of the way through the season. You know what else happens about a quarter to a third of the way through the new season? Taylor's dropping a new album, The Life of a Showgirl. So I'm going to solely focus on her catalog until that point. Hopefully, the Chiefs can pull it together as the season progresses, and I think they can. Again, I'm hurting today. Yesterday was the Chiefs and Eagles game, and I, as a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, I've been thinking about that Super Bowl back in February. It's now September, in which the Eagles basically whooped us from here to Timbuktu. So I've been hoping for our chance of redemption. Yesterday, man, it was a rough start, and then we started to get that momentum, and momentum is really everything in the game of football. And we had Travis Kelce going in the end zone, boom, bounced off his hands, turnover, ball goes the other way, Eagles gain their momentum back, and that was that. But to you new Chiefs fans and Swifties out there who may not know football as much, football does not come down to one play. So that game, Travis was not responsible for losing that game. Now, that was a play as a tight end. The ball hits your hands, you have to pull it in. But throughout the course of a 3.5-hour game, there are a lot of little situational things that determine whether or not you win or lose a game. And now the biggest determining factor on if people win or lose is if they have turnovers. If you are giving up turnovers, you're going to lose a game. All right. Not always, but most of the time, if you have more turnovers than the other team, then you're probably not going to win that one. There was only one turnover in that entire game. I'm pretty sure there was only one turnover. I started to lose it a little bit at times, but that was a tough one. But you know what? It's a long season. We're going to get back on track next week, and we're going to find this team's identity. And we have some people coming in the next few weeks that are going to help us out. So hang tight, Swifties. All right, with that, we're going to spin the wheel. All right. All Too Well, the 10-minute version. Here we go. I'll have to admit, I was kind of hoping for Death by a Thousand Cuts, just because that's how I feel today, and I'm sure the team feels even more that way. Anyway, so people have been like, okay, how have you never heard of Taylor Swift stuff? And how have you never heard of this and that? Well, I actively avoided pop music for the good part of really 25 years. I listen to a lot of jazz, I listen to a lot of improvisational music, funk, I love modern psych rock. But one thing I do love are really long songs. And so we got a 10-minute song here. One of my favorite bands is the band Phish, and they are known for 10, 15, 20, 25-minute songs. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and do. All right, All Too Well. This is off of the Red album, Taylor's version album, released in 2021. I didn't even, until I watched the New Heights podcast with Taylor Swift on it, I didn't even know about the whole thing with her trying to reclaim all of her music. That is awesome, Taylor. I love it. Because I do not like corporations. But, I hear my air conditioning coming on in the background. Sorry, I'm going to keep it on. We're in Kansas. It's kind of hot. I'm up in my, what I call my jam loft up here, which looks over my living room. And it gets a little toasty here in the summertime. So, I'm going to keep the AC on for now. You might hear it in the background. Sorry if that bothers you, you folks out there who are audio engineers or whatever. Anyway, we're going to roll in here. All Too Well. I'm going to go ahead and grab my... this is the 10-minute version, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and grab my electric guitar and my notepad. Oh, I have this in the wrong ear. And, we're going to go ahead and get into it here. Let's roll. All right, All Too Well, 10-minute version. We're going in. Piano, little guitar, some humming. There's like a chorus or a short delay effect on the piano track there.
I walked through the door with you. The air was cold, but something about it felt like home somehow.
I think we have a 1564 there.
Scarf there at your sister's house, and you still got it in your drawer even now.
Ooh, those drums sound really good.
Oh, your sweet disposition and my wide-eyed gaze. We're singing in the car, getting lost upstate. Autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place, and I can picture it after all these days.
I just have to say, Taylor Swift has such good control over her voice and the tone of her voice. I mean, shit, naturally, her voice is very just like crystal clear and pure, but she can get this little bit of raspiness in it. And I remember in Shake It Off, she had this little intentional squeal in it. And yeah, it's just, it's just so impressive when I hear vocalists that just have such a pure tone and quality to their voice. Anyway, just a side note.
It's long gone and that magic's not
So far,
here no more, and I might be okay.
So far, we're kind of, we're starting off strong. There was that little bit of intro, but, even though this is a pretty strong section here, I can tell we're building to something.
I'm not fine at all.
Some different chords in there.
'Cause there we are again on that little town street. You almost ran the red 'cause you were looking over at me. Wind in my hair, I was there. I remember it all too well. Photo album on the counter. Your cheeks were turning red. You used to be a little kid with glasses.
Thinking that was probably the chorus section.
And your mother's telling stories about you on the T-ball team. You told me about your past, thinking your future was me. And you were tossing me the car keys, fuck the patriarchy, keychain on the ground. We were always skipping town, and I was thinking on the drive down anytime now. He's gonna say it's a love. You never called it what it
strumming in the background.
Where it went to as I reached for you, but all I felt was shame, and you held my lifeless frame. And I know it's long gone, and there was nothing else I could do, and I forget about you long enough to forget why I needed to.
There's those different sets of chords going into the chorus section, I'm guessing.
Here we are again in the middle of the night. We're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light.
I think I hear like some faint saxophone in the background, maybe. There's a little bit of that kind of reed sound. So far, we're building. We're bringing in, we're bringing in extra instrumentation as the song progresses. We're 3 minutes and 18 seconds into this, so let's see what happens.
I was there, I remember it all too
Definitely sounds like some saxophone.
And there we are again when nobody had to know. You kept me like a secret, but I kept you like an oath, sacred prayer, and we'd swear to remember it all too well.
I might hear.
Well, maybe we got lost in translation.
I was gonna say, I might hear a little bit of violin in the background also.
But maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up, running scared.
It definitely has kind of as far as the songwriting, as far as the song, the chords and everything. I'm not referring to the lyrics, but as far as the songwriting is concerned, this definitely has a little more of a Nashville-y country vibe as far as the structure of the songs and the way that it's put together. That chorus section. I'm wondering if this was recorded from way earlier in her career. I really don't know. But yeah, I mean, very nice production on this.
And you call me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled
Nice background
up
vocals.
piece of paper lying here, 'cause I remember it all. They say all's well that ends well, but I'm in a new hell every time you double cross my mind. You said if we had been closer in age, maybe it would have been.
Boom. Take these out for a second. All right, so I just want to take a minute and try to pick out these chords here. That's my starting note. I'm guessing that's going to be the 1 chord. And like I said, I'm pretty positive this is a 1, 5, 6, 4 in C, which is going to be, there's your C right there. I'm on the 3rd fret, 5th string, to G, to A minor, to F, back to C. Very, very popular chord progression, so that's why I could pick that out pretty easy. We'll keep this thing going, and we're going to see what those other chords are. I'm really listening to see if there's any other kind of chord changes going. I mean, we're probably only halfway through this song right now. Put these things back in. Hopefully I didn't go out of tune knocking stuff around over here. But
Fine, and that made me want to die. The idea you had of me, who was she? A never needy, ever lovely jewel, whose shine reflects on you. Not we've been in a party bathroom, some actress asking me what happened. You, that's what happened. You who charmed my dad.
strings.
We were on a late night show, but then he watched me watch the front door all night.
Really kind of keeps this song moving along.
Said it's supposed to be fun, turning 21.
Okay, kind of a mellow section here. You got some guitar in the background.
Time won't fly, it's like I'm paralyzed by it. I'd like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. After plaid shirt days and nights when you made me your own, now you mail back my things and I walk home alone. But you keep my old scarf from that very first week, 'cause it reminds you of innocence and it smells like me.
I'm doing some palm muting down here with my hands, kind of keeping my hand over the strings to create that additional percussive sound.
'Cause there we are again when I loved you so. Back before you lost the one real thing you've ever known. It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well.
I was hearing to see if they were going down the F, but keeping it the 1-5-6-4 for the most part.
All down the stairs, you were there. You remember it all. It was rare, I was there. I remember it all too well. And I was never
There we
good
go.
at telling jokes, but the punchline goes, I'll get older.
Got some
but
delay on those
you'll
drums, got the
stay
cut time
my
there.
age. From when your Brooklyn broke my skin and bones, I'm a soldier who's returning half her weight.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit and catch that here.
Turning half her weight. And did the twin flame bruise paint you blue? Just between us, did the love affair maim you too? 'Cause in this city's barren cold, I still remember the first fall of snow and how it glistened as it fell. I remember it
Going back between the 4 and the 5 chords. Back to the 1. That's 6.
just between us, did the
4,
love affair maim you
5.
all too well? Just between us, do you remember it all too well? Just between us, I remember it all too well. Down the stairs, I was there.
Here's some trumpet. A lot of instrumentation going on in the background here. Multiple vocal tracks. Okay, so a nice little outro section there. Like that little synthesizer thing there at the end. All right, so I went back and I checked out some of the chords. I listened to the song again in its entirety, taking notes the entire way through, and I went back and I made a chart. I have a rougher chart. I had to clean this up and I put it in actually Sharpie this time. And this isn't, I wouldn't really call this a chart. Like the last last song I did, Right Where You Left Me, I kind of wrote that out more like a traditional lead sheet. This is something, if I was to go out and play this, I would probably have a version of this like on my iPad. I have a little gig app that I keep little, I guess you should call them charts in, but it's really more just I've outlined the sections, the chords in their, respective numbers here. I wrote the key of C up here. Primarily there are, three main sections chordally. Now, in two of those sections, there's a little bit of a chord variation going on. One of them being the verse section and what I would consider the pre-chorus. And then the other section that I would clump the C part, this is in the outro here. And so, but before I get into all that too deeply, I just want to say, there's not a whole lot of guitar on this song, which, I'm fine with. Obviously, I'm biased, and I love hearing guitar as a guitarist. But there's some kind of nice little decorative stuff going on here. I noticed going into the outro section that there was a little bit of just very sparsely placed guitar chords with some heavy kind of tremolo effect going on it. And just very, very simple stuff. Right there, those chords are the 1, 5, 6, 4 chords in C, which is going to be C, G, A minor, and F. I'm going to kind of use some like inversions over here and triads, just kind of, you hear that little warbly sound? Basically, they're going from C to a G, and then to an A minor, to an F. Now you might be saying, hey, you played the same thing right there when you were playing C and A. Well, here's my part of my C, and then here's part of my A minor. So technically that would be an A minor 7th. So yeah, you can play C and A minor 7th right there. Then your G, this kind of forms off the G bar chord, which is based off the 6th string, which is going to be kind of your E shape with your fingers. And then the last one, the F there, it's kind of built off of what would be the C shape. A chord that is a C shape. Here's your F root right here. And there's only a couple chords in there. I don't want to get too deep into this. And you can't even really hear all those chords as they're being played. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. If I was to play this as a gig, I would definitely use this chart. I would play, basically be playing pretty much mostly the same notes as the bass. Now there's one section in here where is it? It's the B section. Is it the B section? I can't remember if it's the B section or what I could call the A2, kind of the extended part of the verse chords, where it's the A section is what I'm thinking of. The bass note, once it gets to this chord, moves up to like a major 7th interval, which is going to be a B note, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the chords are kind of implying this F. So that's just going to be walking over that. So as a guitarist, I would hold on to this F chord here. And, like I said, I would just probably play just very light chords, maybe even just some very light power chords, no distortion or overdrive on it. There might be just a little bit of breakup going on it if I were to play it live. But yeah, I mean, you could follow your way through this. The sections here, you have an intro section, goes through that twice. The first part of the verse goes through that twice, and there's like this little kind of interlude when the drums come in that does that twice. Second verse twice, and then it goes into the pre-chorus section, which is going to be your A2 chords right here. And then you have your chorus section, which is back to the A1 chords, And you're going to hang on those for the third verse, which goes through that 4 times until you get to the pre-chorus, the second set of chords here. It does that just one time through each time. It's an end cap to the first set of chords before you go into the actual chorus, which are the original 1, 5, 6, 4 chords in C. Then after that third verse, pre-chorus and chorus, there's an interlude section in there. I'm calling it another little interlude. But you're playing this B set of chords right here for that part. And it just goes through that once. Back into the chorus 4 times. And then it basically kind of hangs with those chorus chords. I'm calling it a post-chorus. You're still in this A1 set of chords here. And then you're kind of starting to get into the breakdown, build-up portion of the song before it gets into the outro. So you have a full breakdown, kind of builds up a little bit. You have another chorus, and then it breaks it back down again. Those are things that, as a guitarist, I'm going to listen to that multiple times. That's something that you could definitely execute on stage pretty much by feel. Just because of the way that this was crafted together, it flows very well without even realizing that there's this much stuff involved with this song. That is just the beautiful thing about music. There's just a finite set of chords and notes and just an endless ways of putting them all together. So anyway, you have that final chorus there, and then it does the full breakdown, still in the A1 section of chords. Then it gets into the outro section where it does that cut time with the drums. The drum machine kind of comes in, and you get that nice little groove working up. So you play this C1 section through 3 times. Then you go down here to the C2 section, you play that through once, and then you're back to the C1 set of chords, and it does that all the way to the end. So, you could really have a lot of fun with this song. But yeah, like I was saying, and it was the same thing with Right Where You Left Me, where it's like I was listening to that in real time the first time through, and I was thinking, okay, yeah, there's just a couple chords here, no problem. But the way that this is arranged, and all these little tiny pieces that put together, it's just such a well put together song. I know I said in the last video it was well crafted multiple times, and it's absolutely true. That's really, I'm starting. This is only the 3rd song I've done in this series, the 4th Taylor Swift song I know, but that's what I'm coming to find from a lot of Taylor's music so far, is that she has this way of building all these chords and piecing these little tidbits of the song together and arranging it in a way where, if I were to write this chart out, it would be a pretty darn long chart. I'd have, there'd be a lot to it. There'd be multiple pages, especially since it's a 10-minute song. You could practice this, feel it out, listen to it, if you're an experienced gigging musician, and I think you'd be pretty good going out and play this one live this weekend. All right, so let me just go ahead and run over these chords with you in these different sections. The A1 section is going to be the 1, 5, 6, 4, and C, which is C, G, A minor, F, C, G, A minor, F. You could also play it C, G, A minor, F. I know a lot of people have a hard time with the F chord. The real F chord, the full bar chord, is going to be that right there. So if you have a hard time playing the F, you can always minimize it to these top 3 or 4 strings. So, but I'll probably play it like that. Anyway, notes are kind of notes to me, and I'm palm muting down here, where I have my string, or where I have my palm, just not allowing the string to ring out the entire way through. And you can get a nice rhythmic feel with that. So I'd pretty much be doing this the entire time. So the second set of chords, basically this is going to be the pre-chorus. You have a C, a G, an A minor, a G, to an F, and they hold on to that F one more time. And then, the chorus section plays that C, G, A minor, F. All right, and then there's a little bit of an interlude section in here. So this interlude section is in between two choruses, and the chords in this, I'm labeling this the B section, are C, G, A minor, F, G, and it holds into that G one more time. That's the 5 chord. Kind of sounds like it's trying to transition back to the 1, which would be the C, and it is. So after that, we get back into the chorus section with the A1 set of chords, C, G, A minor, F. Again, if you're playing them down here. Oh, sorry, that's a G. If you're playing them down here, C, G, A minor, F. So, from that point, it does the chorus, then it does that breakdown where it kind of, it basically lets ring out at that point. At that point, the chords basically, you let it ring out once you hit this 4 chord at one point. You go back into the chorus, and then you do another breakdown where you kind of let it ring out, and then it goes into the C section, basically, the outro section of this song, which is split up into 2 different sets of chords. The first set, very similar, but we're rearranging a couple things here. C to the A minor, or C to A minor, however you want to play it. F, G, or G right there. C, A minor, F, G. See, I love using bar chords because I can really see where my roots are at, if I just basically follow what's going on these bottom 2 strings. Just kind of helps to dummy-proof the entire process for me. But bar chords themselves are a little tricky to get down. So if you're working on those, keep them up. So the second set of chords, the C2 set of chords here, you have F, and it does that twice. G, it does that twice. Back to F, and it does that twice. Before it goes back to the C1 set of chords, C, A minor, F, and G. Okay, so that beginning section, it sounds like they're playing the old cowboy chords down here. But I wanted to go back to this whole breakdown section into the outro. I would almost, if I were to play this live, I might go, But yeah, this is definitely a song, you'd have to definitely follow along, really tune in, if you were playing this song live for a last-minute gig scenario situation, which is the entire premise of this whole thing that I started here with originally Spotify Roulette. Going to be focusing on Taylor Swift songs here for the near future. All right, so I want to go ahead and wrap this thing up a little bit. I think I have a pretty good idea of the overall structure of this song. I mean, it's laid out so masterfully from a handful of chords. And again, this is part of the genius of Taylor Swift. Before I got into doing the Taylor Swift stuff, I was going on to Spotify and familiarizing myself with pop music because I've been living under a rock for a long time. I've been listening to these songs for the first time and checking them out, and a lot of the songs that I listen to, there is really not a whole lot going on. It's the same thing over and over again throughout the entire song. So I love the fact, even though I listen to, jazz and a bunch of real high information music where there's a lot of notes and rhythm and stuff coming at you, I really appreciate the fact that people can take something so simple and make it so complex like Taylor did. How many people have the guts to release a 10-minute pop song? It just doesn't happen, Pop songs are, if a pop song is 5 minutes, it might as well be an eternity in 2025 or 2019 when this song was released. So now, on the last video, I did have a couple people mention that, I'm missing the entire fact by just listening to the music. Now, like just previously stated, that's kind of the whole purpose of this thing, is to listen to these songs as if I had to play them for a last minute gig scenario. So I don't want to undervalue, and I'm not undervaluing at all, what Taylor does lyrically, because I know that is the core of what she does, is her lyricism. And I would imagine there are thousands and thousands of videos out there on the lyrics behind of what Taylor Swift's writing. So I wanted to come at it from a pure music angle, lyrics aside. But man, just listening to this song, you can just hear the disappointment and despair in her voice regarding this, relationship that was a budding relationship, and then it just completely dissolved and, turned sour. For example, and I was thinking on the drive down, anytime now, he's going to say it's love. You never called it what it was, till we were dead and gone and buried. Wow, that's heavy. Check the pulse and come back swearing it's the same after 3 months in the grave. And then you wondered where it went to as I reached for you. But all I felt was shame, and you held my lifeless frame. Man. And I know it's long gone, and there was nothing else I could do. And I forget about you long enough to forget why I needed to. 'Cause there we are again in the middle of the night. We're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light. Down the stairs, I was there. I remember it all too well. And there we are again, when nobody had to know. You kept me like a secret, but I kept you like an oath. Sacred prayer, and we'd swear to remember it all too well. This is just someone who has just had their heart torn out of them. And Taylor seems like a master of being able to elicit that kind of emotion, that emotional response out of the listener. And, now we're multiple years down the road from the point in which she wrote this, and she's been in such a happy relationship with Travis. They're getting engaged. You see them together and they're just bubbling over one another. It's a reminder to us as humans that, bad things happen in life, but maybe if that hadn't have happened, then she would have been missing out on something absolutely amazing down the road. Two people that are absolutely fit for one another and love each other wholly. So that's just, we have retrospect now to put all that together, but man, she was really, really heartbroken in this song. And as someone who is a musician, and I've written quite a few songs, writing music and composing lyrics, it's so near and dear to the heart, and especially with this kind of stuff where you pour out your soul onto paper for the world to hear. It's such an intimate thing, and really it's a special thing for her to share with the world, because she can, the listeners can relate to these things, getting their heart broken and maybe going through that, or maybe reflecting on a time that happened at their life. I've been married it'll be 21 years here in 1 month. But, so it's been a long time since I've had my heart broken like that. So it's a little hard for me to relate as a 45-year-old dude. But, I have definitely had my heart broken in the past. And I know how much that hurts, and how also inspirational that can be if you're a creative person and have an outlet, whether it's, music or painting or whatever it is. So Anyway, I just wanted to say a little something about the lyrics in there because that song is really, really heavy and expresses a ton of emotion. All right, well, that about wraps it up for this episode today. I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have liked this Taylor Swift series. If you have something to say about it, please leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos in the future. This is the slow build-up toward the release of The Life of a Showgirl. And also getting into the Chiefs season where they're going to start turning up the volume on things also and start to dominate. I just feel it. I feel it. Okay, enough of that stuff. Thanks again, folks. I hope to see you next time.